All right, so today is day 4 post-op, and I just want to give a little quick update, let people know how I'm doing. Feeling pretty good. I'll go into a little bit more about how the surgery went and how it was immediately pre-op and immediately post-op in the last couple days. But all in all, I would have to say I'm feeling much better than I think someone would expect after having 80% of their stomach removed. So let me just jump into it. I don't want to run late. My videos have been running 20 minutes and I just find that to be terrible. So I want to try to cut them down to 10 minutes, 15 at the absolute worst. So anyway, let me just talk about my experience immediately pre-op, so the last couple days. So I think I might have talked in my last video that I had Thanksgiving dinner. I kind of got out of the pre-op diet and had Thanksgiving dinner and then had trouble getting back on the diet. So Thursday I had Thanksgiving dinner. Friday, I was overeating. Saturday and Sunday I did okay. And then my surgery was supposed to be on Wednesday. And Monday, I don't know, I just couldn't, I couldn't shake the urge to have like a final dinner. I just had this U.S. saying go through my head, which is, and the condemned man ate a hearty meal. And so I went out to a steakhouse and I had myself a big steak dinner 2 nights before my surgery, complete with all the fixings and an appetizer and, not something I'm proud of, but just something I want to put out there because I know, there's a lot of people out there who do great on their pre-op diet and stick to it religiously. And I think that's great, but that wasn't my experience. And so in the hopes that there's someone else out there who's struggling with their pre-op diet, just know that you're not alone. It's if we could stick to a diet, whether it's pre-op or anything, we probably wouldn't need this surgery. So my weight going into the surgery was 389.8, which, given all the overeating I did the last week, I only gained like a pound and like almost 2 pounds, which I didn't think was terrible. I was kind of worried that they were going to weigh me the day of surgery and say, "Oh no, you didn't stick to your diet, you can't have the surgery." But that didn't happen at all. And I went in for my surgery, and the experience in the hospital pre-op is, I had been through the endoscopy a couple weeks ago, and it was very similar to that. I went in and I went into the same day surgery center, and they make you get naked and get your gown on and get your silly socks on and get into bed. And then somebody came and shaved my stomach, which I thought, I said to the woman as she was shaving my stomach, I said, "I don't know what they're paying you, but clearly it's not enough." And she was laughing. And then they had to give me heparin shots in my stomach every 8 hours, so that was not pleasant. That's like a blood thinner to make sure I don't get blood clots. So, and then after about an hour or so, I had my sister-in-law there, and my spirits were good. I was a little nervous. I wish they could have given me something to relax me a little bit, but eventually they wheeled me down the hallway into like the immediate room right before pre-op, and I met my team, and the team was great. There were some people I hadn't met that, the nurses introduced themselves to me, the physician's assistant for my surgeon introduced herself to me, the anesthesiologist I had nice long talks with. I was more worried about the anesthesia really than anything, and I was very reassured after talking to them. And in fact, the anesthesiologist who put me under was a woman. She was kind of a nurse practitioner anesthesiologist, and she just had a great bedside manner, and she kept doing this whole, "I'm sending you on a trip to the Bahamas, and you're going to be flying at 30,000 feet, and everything's going to go perfectly, and I want to hear all about your vacation when you get back." And so she made it really, really pretty pleasant for me. And then finally the doctor came, and I met the surgeon. I had met the surgeon many times before, but we talked a few minutes before the surgery, and that was it. They wheeled me in, and the last thing I heard was that nurse practitioner's voice telling me about the Bahamas, and I went under. And then I woke up. They were taking the tube out and wheeled me down the hallway into the recovery room. So in our hospital, they have like a recovery room where you have a 1-to-1 ratio of a nurse to a patient. And I was in such a great mood. Looking back on it now, I was still high on anesthesia, but I felt great. I felt like I could have got out of the bed and walked. And they had me hooked up to all these machines and monitors and EKGs and blood oxygen and oxygen on my nose. And I just said, "Oh God, just let me get up. They want me to walk around. Let me get up and walk around." And the nurse was like, "No, just wait. And, you'll be able to get upstairs. And, once you get upstairs, you can walk around." which was kind of funny because there ended up being a snafu and they couldn't get me upstairs. They were supposed to get me upstairs in an hour. I was only supposed to be in recovery for an hour, and just because of the way hospitals are, it took over 4 hours to get me upstairs because they couldn't get me a room. The guy who was supposed to leave my room couldn't leave, and so I ended up getting a private room in the end, which was kind of worth it. But in the meantime, I had to spend 4 hours in recovery hooked up to all those machines, and I was feeling better almost, every hour. The one thing I'll say is after the first half hour or hour, my mood started to go down when I was in recovery. I started getting very frustrated and very angry and grouchy, and I couldn't really figure it out. And then the nurse came over and I said something to her, and she said, maybe you need pain meds. And at first I was kind of like, I don't know why I was trying to be a hero, but I didn't want to take the pain meds. And then I just said, give me the pain meds. And she gave me this medicine. First she gave me morphine, and that made me nauseous. And then she gave me this medicine called Dilaudid, and it just was wonderful. The Dilaudid washed over me like a warm wave, and I felt great. And so I've heard that advice, and I'm sorry I didn't follow it in the beginning, but don't let the pain get ahead of you. Get out in front of the pain, take the pain meds as quickly as they're willing to offer them to you. And from that point on, that's what I did. I decided that, for that day, I was going to be in the hospital, and I just had surgery, and I was better off being on pain meds than trying to be a hero. So finally, they got me up to my room, beautiful room, and immediately when I got in my room, the first thing I wanted to do was get comfortable. I wanted to get all those monitors. They had gotten most of the monitors off me, but I still had the IV in, and I just wanted to get out of the gown, get a t-shirt on, get sweats on, get up and walk around. And that was what I did. The hospital staff was great. They disconnected my IV. I got changed. I tried to pee. I had a hard time peeing in the beginning. I don't know why. I felt like I had to pee, but it just felt like it just wasn't going to happen. I stood there for like 10 minutes and, only got a couple drops. I did get up and walk around. I was on the 5th floor of the hospital nearby, and, was making big rounds around the hospital. And the end I was in was all surgery recovery, and the other end was all cardiac recovery. And so, it was kind of made me feel grateful that, maybe by having this surgery, I'm going to avoid a trip to the cardiac unit someday. So, I was just walking around. The first night, the problem was mainly the gas pains were pretty bad. They kind of were showing up right in my shoulder up here, and that was, what my surgeon said was typical. And, and he said the only thing you can do is walk. And then every once in a while I would get this rising gas bubble in my chest that felt like a heart attack, only I knew it was gas, so I didn't give myself a panic attack thinking about it. And then the other problem the first day was dry mouth. They wouldn't let me have anything, not even ice chips. They gave me these little swabs that I could swab out my mouth that had a little bit of a lemon flavor on. I think it was glycerin or something. And so I spent the whole first night swabbing my mouth out because the dry mouth was terrible. The second day, I even woke up in the middle of the night. They woke me up to give me some medicine in the middle of the night, and they're giving me those heparin shots in the stomach and different antibiotics in my IV and the pain medicine. And when they would wake me up, I would say, hey, let me just get up and walk around. And so, I don't know, every 3 or 4 hours I would get up and make a few laps around that thing. And the nurses were just telling me I was doing great. And the next morning I woke up. It was a little bit confusing, because I was dying for something to drink, and so the tray they sent me just had an ice pop and some hot water for tea and some broth, which, I don't know. The surgeon's office had told me I was going to get this whole elaborate tray with water and juice and stuff, and that didn't show up. And so I immediately ate the ice pop because my mouth was so dry. And then, when the nurse came in, I told her, she said, oh, you weren't supposed to eat that whole ice pop, that was 2 ounces and you're only supposed to eat an ounce an hour. And it didn't cause me any pain. I ate it slow and I took small bites and I let them melt in my mouth. But it went fine. Finally the dietitian came in, and it just turned out there was a lot of confusion in the hospital. Hospitals are organized chaos, I guess. And, I have tremendous respect for anyone who works there. But if you go in there, at least in my experience, if you go in there thinking things are going to run like a well-tuned machine, I just don't think that's possible given all the things that they deal with. So, there was the mishap with my tray in the morning, and the mishap with my room, and then the mishap with they didn't give me the inspiration machine. I was supposed to be breathing deeply. Just a lot of little things that I noticed that didn't go the way I was told that they were going to go. Then I came home. I saw my surgeon, and he decided that second day it was time for me to go home. He said, just go home. And actually, I didn't see my surgeon. I saw his partner. And he said, you're doing great. You're walking around. You're getting the fluids in. It's time to go home. And so like less than 24 hours later, I was discharged from the hospital. And, my brother and sister-in-law offered to bring me back to their house. And I couldn't think of any good reason why not to go. So I just went back to their house, and I worked on trying to get fluids in. And it was, as people say in the beginning, it was difficult. That first day I was supposed to be drinking an ounce an hour, and I'm just not a patient person. And so having those little tiny 1 ounce cups and trying to sip on it for an hour, for a minute, is just more than, I'm willing to do. So I didn't get a lot of fluids in that first day. I would say maybe 24 ounces, not even 16 ounces. Not counting the ice pop and stuff, so maybe 24 ounces altogether. The second day I got up, and I was allowed to have protein shakes right from the beginning. And so, the second day, which was Friday, I woke up at my sister-in-law's house, and, I started in with a cup of black coffee, which I only had a few sips of, and then I tried to start having protein shakes and just tried to time myself and have, 2 ounces every half hour. And I didn't find that it went well. I couldn't always get it in. I couldn't always remember. I was, for the first half of the day, I was still having gas pains and stuff. And so I was not diligent about making myself drink every half hour. And then a little bit after lunch, I came home to my place. This was on Friday. I came home to my place, and I just decided that I didn't want to get dehydrated, that was one of the greatest risks, was dehydration. And so I took my smartphone and I set 2 alarms every half hour. And so basically there was an alarm ringing every 15 minutes. And I would force myself to have, an ounce of water or an ounce of protein shake every 15 minutes. And so I was getting 4 ounces an hour. And I did that all through Friday night. And I didn't get in everything, but I got in 2 protein shakes, which is 22 ounces of fluid and 60 grams of protein. And I got in 24 ounces. So I got like 46 ounces of fluid and 60 grams of protein, which I thought was pretty good. And then, my experience has been every day it gets better and better. So Friday it got better, and then yesterday was Saturday. And, the pain was a lot less. The gas pains are just about gone. I only get them every once in a while. And, I had much less problem getting the fluids in on Saturday. My surgeon told me to resume normal activity, and so I came home, and Friday night my daughter had dance class, and it was my weekend with my daughter, so I went and picked her up at her mom's and took her to dance class, and waited for her. I met a friend. There's a coffee shop there. I met a friend at the coffee shop, and I had a cup of herbal tea while he had coffee, and I think that was actually helpful. I think just, not pretending or not acting like a patient and just acting like someone who's well and resuming normal activity. I think that just really, I don't know if it was psychologically or physically, it just kind of worked out a lot of the issues. And so by Saturday I was feeling much better, and I got all my fluids in yesterday. I definitely got 64 ounces of fluids in, and again, I got 60 grams of protein, so I'm not really worried about that. I'm not hungry. I did have some like stomach cramping that I thought might have been hunger. I think it might be stomach acid, so I've been taking the antacid. I haven't taken pain meds in 2 days. I weighed myself yesterday. I couldn't resist, and I was down 7 pounds already, which I was pretty happy about. So life on the other side so far is good. It's like getting to know myself all over again, what I can tolerate, what I can't tolerate, how fast I can do things, how fast I can't do things. I've been taking showers every day. I finally took the bandages off yesterday, so I just have the steri strips. And, my stomach's tender, but it's not in a lot of pain. And the last thing I want to say, I want to cut this at 15 minutes. The last thing I want to say is that, I'm on this Facebook page of December Sleevers, and it has just been so helpful and so inspirational to watch other people going through it and seeing that, other people are having better experiences than me, other people are having worse experiences than me. And that's just the way things are in life is, your experience is your own experience, and just try to make the best of it. And the other thing is YouTube. I get a tremendous amount of support and inspiration from watching all the YouTube videos, and watching the Fat Kings on Friday night and being a part of the chat was really helpful to me, especially after having just got my sleeve. So anyway, if you're looking for support, reach out. There's people around. There's a great weight loss community on Facebook. There's a great weight loss community on YouTube.